The kind people at Prime Video were once again kind enough to send us over screeners for one of their new series. Mr. and Mrs. Smith is the newest Prime original series. I watched the first 3 episodes before writing this video to make sure to be spoiler-free. I do have some theories for the rest of the season, which aren't exactly spoilers, but I'll give a warning anyway. Mr. and Mrs. Smith follows John and Jane Smith, played by Donald Glover and Maya Erskine, respectively. The generic characters' names are aliases. John and Jane both go through a faceless interview process where they talk to a computer and answer strange questions. These two are selected to be spies or agents of some sort, and part of their cover is that they're a married couple, despite never having met each other. The episodes put John and Jane on individual missions where they stumble through the spy game, since neither are career pros with this type of work. The missions build, the stakes rise, and the two strangers posing as a couple start to find comfort in each other. If this sounds familiar, this isn't the first version of the story. 1996 had a Scott Bakula and Maria Bello-led series that didn't last too long. 2005 saw Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie do a movie version of this story, where the story was changed for some unknown reason. As I'm talking about this now, I realize that beyond the remakes, none of this really sounds fresh. The trajectory of the two coming together, along with them not being great at the job but mostly succeeding, is as typical as TV as it gets. But something about this version of Mr. and Mrs. Smith takes that TV trope and even the well-tread concept
and elevates it.
A huge part of this elevation is found in the performances. Donald Glover is always amazing. I think if he strolled into an ER, he could pull off open heart surgery and make it entertaining while he did it. He brings some weight in his physical screen presence, as well as some undeniable charm to John Smith. Maya Erskine comes from primarily comedic background, with roles in BoJack Horseman, Big Mouth, Pen 15, and more. Despite these massive comedy hits on her resume, she brings a very grounded performance to the series. Mr. and Mrs. Smith is not a comedy, not outright anyway. The two gifted comedic actors in the lead roles deliver the darker and subtle comedy beats in the script with ease. Which brings me to my next point. The script is very solid. The pacing of each episode is perfect. Nothing ever drags, and you're never checking for the runtime to see how long is left in each episode. Even though the stories are told episodically, they all feel like chapters in a larger whole, which I guess it should. I was 3 episodes in without even realizing it, and for the screeners, I have to manually back out of each episode and select the next file to play. It doesn't do the countdown watch next thing where you can just kind of turn off your brain and keep rolling. The series opens up on some cool action that definitely has wider implications for where the series is going. The majority of the action after this is pretty tame, but it's very understanding. These characters, as I said, are not professionals in the spy game. They're not John Wick. They're more or less regular people who were desperate for a job. Having the action be more grounded feels right for the show, and it also gives some opportunity to feel like the characters are in peril. Okay, don't click off just yet. I'm going to do a wrap-up for the spoiler-free section of the video and get into my theories, which, if they turn out to be correct, would technically be spoilers at that point. Just to reiterate, I have no knowledge of the show beyond the 3rd episode at this time. I was excited to get into this one. This is one that I would have watched regardless of getting screeners or not. Mostly for Donald Glover. I'm psyched that it didn't disappoint. I ended up enjoying it a lot more than I even thought I would. I'm glad to have something to look forward to in the genre since Jack Ryan ended and Reacher was a bit of a letdown for me. Mr. and Mrs. Smith debuts on Prime Video February 1st at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. All 8 episodes of the first season will drop at once, so I just sorted your weekend plans for you. Okay, time to speculate wildly. The first episode opens up on another couple. We don't spend a lot of time with them. This couple is played by Alexander Skarsgård and Isa Gonzalez. It doesn't take long for the Glover and Erskine, John and Jane Smith, to actually couple up. They also don't... I didn't watch the 1996 version, but the 2005 version has the couple set to kill each other. They decide they love each other and team up to go against the company instead. Logic would dictate that Glover and Erskine will likely... They'll likely decide to take on the company themselves. Make sure you check out Mr. and Mrs. Smith this weekend, February 1st, 2024, on Prime Video.